the Middle East. It's been a wonderful 2 days of panel discussions about the state of literature in the Arab world, looking at the literary infrastructure. We began with an amazing keynote by Rabia Al-Madin, the winner of the PEN/Faulkner 2020 Fiction Prize. I hope you caught him online. If not, please do go watch him. He started with this interesting analysis of his views of two of the Arab world's greatest writers, as he put it, contemporary writers, Edward Said and Khalil Gibran. And that got us very excited. And that was followed by a wonderful panel of young Arab and Arab American novelists whose excitement and energy got us all excited to look forward to their next novels. And of course, our poets and our publishers and our literary prize judges gave us a taste of those worlds as well. And of course, so much more needs to be done to support Arab literature, to support the infrastructure that supports it. But I think my takeaway, and I look forward to hearing from Matt and Lynn, is that, you know, there are more book festivals, there are more literary prizes than ever before. There's more translation in Arabic or into English and other languages of Arabic works. And so there are some positive signs on the horizon for Arabic literature. So big thanks to all of our speakers and moderators who joined us over the past 2 days. I also want to thank the Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation. They were our co-producer for this event. This event was part of the Abu Dhabi Festival. It's a wonderful annual festival of art and literature, which ADMAF produces. And they put this festival on both in the UAE and internationally. And the founder of the foundation and the festival is Hoda El-Khamis Kanu, and she's been a longtime supporter of Arab cultural production and has done so much to give musicians and writers and artists a platform. So thank you to Ms. Kanu, and also thanks to her team, Joseph Mitchell and Kate Donnelly. Of course, a huge debt of gratitude to our literary partner, the Cheuse Center for International Writers at George Mason University. Its director, Matt Davis, who is standing here with us, was instrumental in making this happen. MEI and Matt and his center did a wonderful series last year of Arab writers, and it went off so well that we launched this festival, and maybe we can turn this into a biennial every 2 years, inshallah, if we can get some good DC Commission of the Arts support and other support. It'd be wonderful to keep doing this every 2 years and highlighting just the tremendous talent out there. I also want to thank Lynn Snej, the director of our Arts and Cultural Center, for her hard work and her consummate professionalism. She was instrumental also in making everything happen. She crafts very thoughtful panels. She does wonderful interviews with Rabia Al-Madin, and she always does so with a great sense of humor. Thanks to Coco Tate, who handled all the logistics and ran the festival flawlessly, and to Elliot Sanders, who ran MEI's social media. I'm just so proud of everyone for doing their part, you know, to help give more exposure and support to this very important community. I mean, what would we be without the writers in our midst? They play such an invaluable role in society, and it's important to give them our love and support. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the festival. And please keep engaging with our material, retweet our events and our tweets, and we'll see you hopefully in 2 years, if not before then. And Matt, please come and say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate, very much. Thank you all of you for being here this afternoon, this evening. And for those of you watching on the live stream, welcome. You know, I want to echo Kate in her many thanks to MEI, to you, Kate, to Lynn, to you, to your team. I also want to thank my team at the Cheuse Center, Holly, Martin, Elizabeth, who is not here, but were really instrumental in helping us to create the festival that we did. And of course, to the Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation as well, thanks to them. You know, I mentioned this a few times to my team, and I wrote in a newsletter we sent out to our supporters that this festival was I think just wonderful on its face value, but for me it was also very personal. My interaction with the Middle East is I lived there for several years and got to know the region through the lens of its artists, through its writers. Khalid Khalifa, who's a great Syrian writer, who was one of the first people I met when I was actually a student at Iowa, was very instrumental in opening up the door to me to the region through its lens of literature and art. And I've held that with me for more than 10 years. And so to be able to do this festival with the Middle East Institute to showcase and to highlight writers from the region, translators from the region, people who are really instrumental in the infrastructure of the Middle Eastern literature scene, is not just, I think, important, but for me, it was very personal. And so I'm just very grateful that we had the opportunity to do that. And I do want to recommend, for those of you that did not have the chance to watch the panels live, to do see them online, because I think they were all just very amazing and special and insightful in their own different ways, which I think is hard to do over the course of a two-day festival. So welcome. Thank you. Thank you to our poets who'll be reading tonight. And Lynn, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming, for being with us. So I want to start us off tonight just to say, to echo everyone's thanks to the panelists, to everyone, to the partners, to the team, to everyone who's made this possible. Really, this has been a fantastic program of conversations and a fantastic collaboration, confirming how much we can do when we work together. The discussions were very, very rich, and it was a real testament to the talent of writers and poets from the Arab world, and the commitment and passion and work of all those who support them and support their work, so we can continue to read their stories and their work. My mind is still buzzing from it all. I think we need some time to step back and sort of absorb what's been said, so that looking ahead, we can also craft even more innovative and interesting programming for you coming out of that festival. And today, to fold the festival on a high note, we have the privilege of hosting two other very talented poets from the Arab world, who hail from the Arab world. We have with us Zaina Azam and Maryam Guma. Thank you for accepting our invitation and for coming tonight. We really are very grateful that we will be able to close this festival on a beautiful poetry note. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first poet tonight, Zaina Azam. Zaina is a Palestinian-American poet, writer, editor, and community activist. She is currently the poet laureate of the city of Alexandria, Virginia. Her poems appear in over 40 literary journals and anthologies, and her chapbook, Baina Baina, In Between, was published in 2021 by the Poetry Box. She holds an MA in Arabic literature from Georgetown University and an MA in sociology from George Mason University. She is so much more. Thank you, Zena, for being with us. The floor is yours.
I'm delighted to be here with you today and to participate in this closing event of an incredibly rich literature festival that has really served as a gift to all of us in the DC area and way beyond. I'd like to extend special thanks to MEI Executive Vice President Kate Seeley and to my dear friend Lean Snej, the Director of Arts and Culture Center, and the great staff at MEI. And big thanks to Matt Davis and the founder and director of the Alan Cheuse International Writers Center and his wonderful team. I have two poems to share with you today. Yesterday's first speaker, the noted Rabia Alameddin, started his remarks with a story about Edward Said. So I will bookend this festival by invoking Edward Said as well with my first poem. It was inspired by an article that I read a long time ago by Said, and I saved a short quote from it that has served now as the epigraph for my poem, which is a short kind of contextual introduction. I had been thinking that in our writing as Arabs at home and in the diaspora, so many of us eschew the use of images that deal with deserts and oases and camels, etc., because they're Orientalist and reinforce an image of the Arab world as a place that's different, mysterious, stuck in time, homogeneous, and all those tropes that we always encounter. Yet at the same time, I thought that these images are really part and parcel of our history and many of our experiences as inhabitants of the region. So if others reduce us to deserts and dunes, we must reject that characterization, but we can still appreciate the beauty of our lands and cultures on our own terms, while not accepting the reductive labels. So I wrote this poem titled Reclaiming the Oasis. The epigraph is by Edward Said. These are his words. My argument is that history is made by men and women, just as it can also be unmade and rewritten, so that our East, our Orient, becomes ours to possess and direct. Reclaiming the oasis. I want it back, all of it. Live palms that spring up from west sand, dangling chandeliers of dates, ancient camels with humps and churning mouths, the surprise of water after horizons of dunes. I want almond-shaped eyes lined with kuhl, deep indigo cloth wrapping warm skin, camel hair tents with secret colorful rugs inside, frankincense burning in terracotta pots next to thick woven pillows stacked in rows, awaiting visitors. I want the brass coffee pot with the crescent moon spout, fragrant coffee with cardamom, filling small cups, open-mouthed. Let's drink together and toast to the health of our guests who have come from far away. I want to reclaim the noble oasis with its luminous offerings, this nurture of language and community, the geographer of our Orient. Thank you. In the first panel yesterday, the writer Ahmed Nagy challenged the idea of an Arab American identity, one that has somehow been constructed for us. I understood his point, and I also think there is something to be said for having experiences from two or more cultures that shape us and our perspectives on the world. Of course, there's been a long-running debate in the Arab world as to what is an Arab, what is the Arab identity itself. And this is something actually the last panel, the panelists talked about. So I don't think of being Arab American as a fixed identity, but rather one that is Arab and American, fluid and constantly building and evolving. I actually really think about this quite a bit. And I'd like to mention that being an American of Arab descent has opened my eyes to the experiences of those on the margins of society and the struggles for justice and equality. And as with anyone raised in hybrid or multiple cultures, I feel like I hold sometimes opposing and sometimes complementary ideas and customs and values. And this is both enriching and perspective widening. So allow me to share this poem with you today. It's titled, I Am an Arab American. I am an Arab American because I tend the fig tree as earnestly as the dogwood and the pine, because cinnamon and nutmeg, cumin and anise inhabit my shelves and senses, because I bake both baklawa and blueberry pie for my family, because poems by Mahmoud Darwish and Lucille Clifton are my daily bread, because both Ibn Khaldun and Howard Zinn explain the world to me, because I'm awed by the blueness of the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. I'm an Arab American because I see Gaza when a protester raises a fist in Ferguson, because Abul Qasim al-Shabi and Angela Davis inspire me to act, because I treasure coffee from Yemen, dates from Iraq, pistachios from Syria, as well as pecans and corn and apples from Georgia, Iowa, New York, because I write in languages that flow in opposite directions, because Arabic and English are my archetypes of sanctuary, because my name is unfamiliar to some and a comforting word for others to carry. I am an Arab American because I grow jasmine in Virginia to conjure the fragrance of my first home, because melodies of the oud and guitar dwell in my ears, because I listen to Kulthum, Fairuz, Ella Fitzgerald, and Joni Mitchell in one sitting, because to me, the olive tree is an ancestor, a food source, a healer, because I'm the daughter of Palestinian refugees, and we are all immigrants, because I've touched the splendor of a brown child in my womb, because my children see more than one world, inherit stories that astonish and bloom. I'm an Arab American because I want to protect the purple mountains and shining seas everywhere, because I embrace Hiawatha's 7th generation principle to live knowing that all our decisions will affect the world for hundreds of years, because I learned early on that karam, the Arabic word for generosity and kindness, is the most important belief to hold dear.
Thank you, Zaina. Whew. That was beautiful. Thank you. I would love to introduce our next poet, Maryam Guma. Thank you, Mariam, for being with us. Dr. Maryam Guma is a physician and writer based in Washington, D.C. She is the author of Between the Shadow and the Soul. She holds an MD from Wake Forest University School of Medicine and a BA in Creative Writing and Biological Sciences from Northwestern University. Her writing has appeared in Time, NBC News, Mizna, and many others. Welcome.
Thank you, Holly, first for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Lynn, for helping to organize. I'm so excited to be here, everyone. It's so hard to follow. And I will admit that I'm pretty nervous. So thank you guys for being here and for listening. I started writing a long time ago, maybe high school, and then started pursuing more of my writing in college as a creative writing major. And I think one of the things that I really grappled with was giving myself permission to write the Arab story and the Arab American story. For a long time, I felt like that would be reductive of my identity, and I felt like I had to prove something by writing American stories. And it wasn't until, maybe medical school that I started reading more Arab American writers and Arab writers, and felt like I could give myself permission to tell those stories. And I'm so grateful to all of my colleagues who have, paved the way and really made it easier for me to be able to tell that specific story. And I'm so excited and grateful for, having avenues like this to be able to share, what we have to say and to be able to share our lives with the rest of the world. That said, I want to read one of my poems that is from Mizna, and then I'm going to read 2 other short poems. I don't really have a lot of background from it, but I'll just share them. The first one is geospatial mapping. I cannot peel oranges and touch the rinds until my fingers blanch. Cannot taste the juice on my tongue without the ache of it against the mucosa of my mouth that blushes when bitten. In the bomb shelter, we pulled white flecks from the fruit in delicate commas, the sound of explosions masked by the task at hand, our fervent attention to detail, an effort to quell our mother's longing, her palm lines sharpened by the acid, the distinct direction of our lives splayed as geospatial mapping in bodily form, beneath the earth in this habitual dread, on the 4th of July as new Americans wondering why recreate the sound of a bomb. and in the lap of a man clutching the ruddy fruit, impossibly unable to share the citrus tree hanging over the house, grazing the rooftop, where soldiers would perch for a view of the village we missed in the hours we spent holding miniature suns like whole worlds in our hands. So my next poem is an appreciation for Arab men in my life. I think they get a bad rep sometimes, you guys, and I am definitely guilty for saying a lot of trash, but I did think about it and I was like, you know, I was raised by Arab men. I love my brothers. I love my friends. I love the way that we carry ourselves. And I wanted to, you know, really appreciate that. And so I want to share this poem. It's forthcoming in 2023 in an anthology that Hala Alian and Zena Hashimbek are putting together for poems on love by writers of Arab descent. So please look for that next year. This poem is called Tell My White Boyfriend I Will Always Leave. For an Arab man, all nose, thick lashes, stubborn hair, who in the sunlit afternoon will call out Ya Asad and kiss crescent moons on my neck. Love, a third language for our fear of internment camps, and a suitcase ready to flee a country that is home but not home, for another that is home but not home. I will love him without knowing more than the weight of his shoulders on a shuddering subway ride and the shadows cast on his olive skin as the last ray of sunlight sinks in the horizon. Enough that I will never need to explain God streaming through a window in the summer, or Fairuz trilling our unfathomable distresses in the solitude of our silent mornings. When I reach for him, I reach for everyone who loved me once, warmed by the familiarity and the not knowing. And when I glint in the glow of silver evenings, golden thread in a pale sea, he knows more than being seen. Home for an Arab is love, is an opalescent yearning for my name in his voice, calling me back to the dark. Thank you. And then I'll read one more poem. This poem is in Rhino magazine, a poetry journal that I love that is based in Evanston, Illinois, where I went to college, and they've been long supporters of me, so I'm grateful to them. Everything will be so good so soon. I learned to like the foods allowed to us by government gods and revised my tastes so not to hunger for the rest of America's provisions. You cannot be disappointed by that which you never long for. And truth be told, I never asked to be here. On this spackle of earth where words are coarse salt dusting the shelves of grocery stores. It never occurred to me to be ashamed of need, of the heat turned off in dead winter, wielded away with layers of quilted jackets indoors, and delight at the sight of our breath in clouds and the chance to sleep, all five of us, side by side in one room, imbricated bodies like curved ladles, our creature selves unlearned in scarcity, having never tasted saffron, nor touched silk, nor seen the seismic gap between this life and the next.
Thank you, Mariam. That was beautiful. Thank you both. Thank you for everyone who's come to celebrate with us the closing of the festival. Please enjoy the rest of the evening. I think we can open the doors, and if it's not raining, we can all step outside and have a very well-deserved drink and enjoy some